At the time of recording this, we're rapidly approaching 500,000 deaths from the virus in the US. A group of patriots stormed the Capitol trying to install their goddaddy Trump as a dictator, resulting in the deaths of at least 5 people. And tensions in Yemen are rising. Okay, wow. So when I sat down to edit this, I got the news that Myanmar just had a military coup against their democratically elected leader. So, yeah, things are looking kind of grim all over. Oh boy. Fuck it. Let me talk to y'all little niggas about some anime. Now, wait. Don't run off yet. I can make this bread tubey, I swear. Hold on. I got it. Blue slimes are an analog for an endless capitalist consumption, and capitalism is evil. No? I won't do it? Okay, waifu imperialism is the only way to unify this now broken world? No, I didn't think you'd go for that anyway, even though Futaba is objectively the best and deserves world domination. Oh no, wait, I got it for real this time. Angel Cop. It's a little old, but it's got the Jewish question and communists just sloppily stereotyped all around it. So, I mean, trust me, y'all should love it. Now, I've been a big fan of animation of all types since very early on in my life, with some of the media I remember most fondly from my childhood being stuff like Land Before Time, Brave Little Toaster, and Kiki's Delivery Service. Oh boy, looking back on it, there should have really been zero surprise at all with that depression diagnosis, hey? Animation has just always really spoken to me, so of course as I grew older and American cartoon channels started switching over more and more heavily to a live action focus, I naturally gravitated towards anime. Especially with that killer shonen lineup on Toonami, right when I was getting around that 8 to 10-year-old range. Stories about bold heroes fighting against impossible odds to protect their people, heroes realizing their true potential through challenge after challenge, building a new family of friends that can get you through anything, no matter what life throws at you, all woven together with fluid animation and fun different types of art to explore. That is not Angel Cop in any sense. In fact, I want you to imagine the polar opposite of everything I just said, execute it way more poorly than you first imagined it, and have it written by the guy who did Full Metal Alchemist. Not Brotherhood, just Full Metal Alchemist. Angel Cop is set in the distant future of the mid-2000s, in which, and we all know this is exactly what happened, Japan has become not only a major international economic player, but is actually so big dick strong that it's the linchpin of the entire world's economy. So much so that multiple countries, as well as terrorist organizations, are targeting Japan at all times. In turn, Japan creates a special security force, with permissions to kill and torture anyone as necessary to keep the country safe from terrorists by any means. Regular cops and citizens all over shake in fear and respect when they are in the presence of the ultra killy bang bang police.
Huh? Oh, Jesus. I can't believe it. How did a little dork like this end up with one of these? Yeah, there's no mistake. He's definitely one of them.
Jingoism, or the advocacy for the use of violence as a domestic or foreign policy, isn't really just an underlying theme of this show, it's the main driving force of it and the basis that its universe is created in. To everyone in this story, it's taken as a given that naturally enemies of the state would want to maliciously tear it all down at any cost out of envy and a lust for power. So the only course of action is to have a team of the strongest, and no, seriously, I mean the strongest. Even the tech guy that they named Hacker is a jacked islander that could bench press a server tower. The smartest and the most emotionally damaged soldiers to have free reign to hunt down any threats. There are half-hearted attempts to deal with the question of using excessive force, including using it on innocent people, to prevent further death, or, even worse, billionaires losing money from the stock market. Oh no! Oh, woe is me! Won't someone please think of the poor billionaires? There are moments where you can see the theme of just following orders, or actively murdering innocents in the name of false justice, attempt to be dealt with, but they're always kind of immediately undercut, with the character affirming their action is right, or blaming it on the orders being corrupt. See, the protection of the country could never be wrong, no matter how you're doing it, so it must be that the orders weren't to protect the country at all. Sho Aikawa, the co-writer of Angel Cop, would later deal with these themes much better in Full Metal Alchemist, which makes the fact that excessive violence is being justified against communists and telekinetic Jewish deep state agents all the more disappointing to see. We'll get to the cabal of magic Jews here in a minute. You just have to be patient. You can't have dessert without dinner first, after all. No, first let me whisper sweet nothings into your ear about communism. That's going to bring us right into today's sponsor, the communist Red May. We blow things up for no real particular reason. We are not secretly run by undercover magic Jews. The main antagonist forced for the first arc, if you even want to call it that, are the communist Red May. Gee, I heard those guys were real neato. A group of communist terrorists with the incredibly based goal of tearing down global capitalism at its roots and freeing people from the chains of oppression once and for all. Well, at least I think that's what the goal of the group would be, if this entire group wasn't just an opportunity to dunk on leftists. There's barely an attempt to actually discuss this group's real goals in their eyes, outside of pretty much just the words, "take back the means of production," because this was written from the lens of leftists being self-serving, smug, and just trying to force their worldview on others.
Well, Japan has become an unequal society. You only have to look around you to see the difference between the haves and the have-nots. All we're trying to do is to give the workers back the means of production, make it a fairer society for the ordinary person.
In result, the Communist Red May members and their leaders are entirely morally bankrupt, with their only goal being to destabilize Japan out of a spite for people with money, and are also too stupid to realize that they're being tricked by magic Jews to do their bidding to make Omega radioactive capitalism. The worst kind of capitalism. Left-wing views are held up as, at the best, something that only idiots would believe, so it must obviously be a trick by the deep state. Or at the very worst, it's assumed that these views aren't true at all and are just self-serving justifications for attempting to take power. Even being sympathetic to left-wing ideas makes you a person of interest in terrorist investigations.
So how do you figure these people are linked to the terrorists?
One or two things. Firstly, all of them are known left-wing sympathizers.
The Communist Red May's grand plan to bring capitalism to its knees around the globe revolved around two central plots. After breaking out their leader from a prison transport plane, which was allowed because the Special Security Force captain had a hunch he wanted to follow, they immediately begin to enact their plan. That plan being for 4 people to walk into the Japanese equivalent of the New York Stock Exchange with rifles and explosives, set up said explosives all around the building, and blow the entire thing up, no problem. And for some reason, that act alone would collapse the entire world's economy, ushering in a new wave of future communism. It's like regular communism, but the tractors can talk to you now. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I know that somebody does. The world doesn't actually work like Fight Club. You can't just blow up a building and the money goes away. It'd be really cool if you could, don't get me wrong, but unfortunately, that's just not the way it works. Any plot made by the communist group in this show exclusively serves the purpose of informing the viewer of just how important Japan and their big dick money is by repeating over and over and over that Japan pretty much is exclusively the world's economy. This plot is foiled by the titular Angel Cop's partner, who spots them because he thinks that vans are suspicious, thus immediately ruining the years in the making grand plot and turning it into a high-speed chase shootout combo, ending with what may be the best way I've ever seen to jump out of a Twitter thread.
See you later, comrades!
What we learn here is that the leader of the communist Red May feels no solidarity to those who he's leading, and that while they are still incredibly dangerous, unpredictable, and violent, the communist Red May is also so incompetent that when directly dealing with them, they pose little threat. Almost the next day, they decide that they're going to go in for attempt number 2. And this time, the plan's foolproof, guys. Don't you worry. They are going to disrupt global capitalism by blowing up an office building, thus blocking the subway below so workers can't easily get to the stock exchange, thus toppling the commodity form and transferring the means of production to the common man once and for all. And this would work for reasons. You don't need to worry about that part. Just set up the explosives and trust the plan, TM. The storm is coming. This plot is once again immediately broken up by the Special Security Force, and this time by the actual main villains of the remainder of the show. They are trying to kill anyone that was going to be captured by the police. That's it. You guessed it, buddies. It's time. Listen up. Let me talk to y'all little motherfuckers about the wild world of globalist magic telekinetic Jews.
All you have to do is relax while I fuck your mind.
Wait, I can already feel the heat from your torches ready to come after me. But worry not, I haven't gone full Nation of Islam on y'all. Although I do have my suspicions on where all of my locks go when we have bagels, Derek. Not all of the locks can go to you, Derek. They're for everyone, Derek.
You fucker! Try some of this!
Uh-huh. Oh, this is a bakery. Uh-huh. And I have to ask for locks if I want some? Okay. Uh-huh. And Derek just works there? Alright. Well, this is incredibly embarrassing, guys. That one's my bad. That's on me. This is where viewing the show gets a bit tricky if you want a full picture of it. See, in the American release, including dubs and subs, the language was deliberately cleaned up to get rid of any mention of there being a Jewish conspiracy, instead electing to just replace it with they, or in some cases, it cutting out entire scenes that explain it's actually a cabal of evil American Jews that want to take over the world that are pulling the strings behind government officials and the communists. So if you're interested in seeing what the original intent of this show was, you have to find a version of it that's in its original Japanese release that had their own subtitles in English across the top of it. Any official subtitle job just won't have the anti-Semitic slant in it, so good hunting out there, fellow trash divers. For the rest of you with more important things going on, whatever that could be, honestly, I don't know. I mean, this anime has a sexy dom mommy riding a Harley side-saddled, so it's pretty much the best show that's ever been made, hands down. But for those of you that want to miss out on that, I'll go ahead and just break it down for you. The communist Red May, multiple Japanese officials, and the group of superpower vigilantes known as the Hunters are all being controlled by the dastardly alliance of the American Jews trying to achieve world domination. Feeling that this cabal has been pulling the strings around the world for a long time, with their first major operation being testing nuclear bombs on Vietnam, and that being the reason for the United States invading it, then upping the ante to framing the first Gulf War on Iraq so that the Jewish cabal that had money all over the world could make more money off the oil instead of the Iraqis. The end goal being that the main group's imperial domination over the rest of the world, and each subgroup serving its own purpose. The terrorist organization was being used to destabilize Japan's economy, making it easier for the Jewish alliance to take over. The government officials were being used to allow a transfer of power from major Japanese companies over to this cabal of American Jews. And finally enters the Hunters. Their job was to kill anyone in the communist Red May if they ever got caught or had served their usefulness. Which somehow none of them ever figured out that that's what they're being used for, but whatever. The show consistently frames any problems with actions done by anyone that thinks they're protecting the country as only being a problem because the orders were originally given by a bunch of American Jews that just hate Japan and want to see it fall.
Bullseye!
And that's really the main problem with this show. Well, don't get me wrong. I mean, ideologically wrong with it. There's a lot else wrong with this show, from choppy animation, a poorly paced storyline, poorly written characters, and unintentional moments of hilarity like this.
Not with you, I wish you no harm. But you are guilty and must die. Fuck and piss!
No, what really stands out about this show is what it betrays about the people who wrote it and the society that they're in. These story points, as sloppy as they may be, only really make sense if you come in with a base understanding that one day Japan will be the center of the financial world. Any kind of force is necessary and should be used to protect that and the country. And finally, a large portion of the world is controlled by a Jewish cabal that has been slowly trying to seize power.
Oh my God!
That's why so many moments that, in other shows, would have been a time for characters to reflect on their morality and the choices that they made, end up falling so flat. It is assumed that you'll already agree with these positions, so any argument made against them can easily be brushed away as someone just not getting it, or trying to serve their own needs. Now, this is not the type of position that people just naturally come to, of course, and luckily over the years this has become less and less prevalent as time flies by. This position gets reached after seeing a lifetime's worth of propaganda just like this show. A strong sense of national pride and acceptance of imperialism is prevalent in not only Japanese media, but Western media as well. Whether it comes from shows like Law and Order propagandizing for the police, or shows like SEAL Team doing the same thing for overseas operations. That is because these are emotional triggers that are incredibly effective at keeping people in line. Trends in art typically reflect the anxieties that society has at the time, and nothing plays better on that than propaganda. If you're going to take anything away from this video, other than that Lady Futaba is the one true queen and shall crush all of those other pathetic waifus and their followers under the weight of her import, of course.
Bullseye!
When you're watching a show, playing a game, reading a book, or really consuming any media, think about what the themes of the show are trying to say, no matter how poorly they're doing it. You'll probably find that a lot of your favorite media promote some thinking that can be pretty damaging to society. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying to stop going out and enjoying things, even if they do have some of these themes behind them. Or that you need to psychoanalyze Adam Sandler's character in Grown Ups for it to be safe for you to laugh at a C-grade comedy and have a good time. Just be mindful of some of your inherent biases and how they're being played and built upon. I mean, look at me. Only 6 episodes of this show, and I'm calling up bagel shops to yell at fucking Derek!
See you later, comrades!